2 days of icy prairie fog, and every blade of grass and twig and branch and every stretch of wire, barb, post, and staple is a knot or a thread in a lace of the purest white. To walk is like finding your way through a wedding dress. The sky inside it cold and satiny. No past, no future, just the now, all breathless. Then a red bird, like a pinprick, changes everything. So taking a comfortable seat and feet flat, your knees at a right angle, if that feels comfortable. Your hands just facing up on your laps. And then feeling that prickly, widening sense of presence that comes when everything just stops. Like when the hoarfrost comes or when the snow starts. Softening the shoulders, maybe stretching the neck just a little bit. And then straightening the back ever so slightly, and lengthening the back of the neck by a millimeter. And maybe just arcing your chin a little bit upward. Feeling everything soften. Let the shoulders soften again. And an opening of the chest, letting go of whatever defenses had been there or that you woke up with. Softening the belly. And the thighs. And the calves. Feeling it in your feet. The gravity that's holding you here. I like to use Seamus Heaney's word, the far-flungness of everything that has converged to make this moment possible. It's almost absurd, the chances. And then we're in it. We've walked off the busy street into a cathedral, and our posture changes, our attitude changes, our attention changes. Now just deepening the breath to 4 counts in. And 5 counts out. And if you feel your thoughts racing, if you could just take one step back and non-identify, you might say, or detach yourself from identifying with those thoughts and to watch them like a movie. They can go on having their thoughty lives without you getting embroiled. You're in it, the ceiling, with its buttresses, the cathedral-like presence. You feel that beam of connectedness from the heart to the mind so that it's one organ in your body, chitta, mind, heart. Hoarfrost by Ted Kooser. 2 days of icy prairie fog, and every blade of grass and twig and branch and every stretch of wire, barb, post, and staple is a knot or a thread in a lace of the purest white. To walk is like finding your way through a wedding dress, the sky inside it cold and satiny. No past, no future, just the now, all breathless. Then a red bird, like a pinprick, changes everything. Hoarfrost is a phenomenon, of course, when moisture freezes on cold surfaces. And Kooser has compared it to the intricacy of a gown, a wedding gown. A gown you might wear once in a moment of highly stylized ritual. And in this poem, he is a very small being walking inside this enormous wedding gown. In the Old Testament, hoarfrost is a metaphor for the power of God. It's spoken of in the Psalms, and it's spoken of in Job as the hoarfrost of heaven. Job is a great example because Job's circumstances leave him utterly powerless, and it's not even his fault. And so this hoarfrost of heaven comes down, and it's the inevitable that descends, or you might say, like the Holy Spirit descending, which is a wonderful line from Flannery O'Connor. The implacable descending upon us. And I think of the hoarfrost here because it's kind of beautiful as well as being, magnificently beyond us, like the numinous in Otto Rudolph, which I've mentioned in an earlier recording, where we're drawn to something that's numinous because it has tremendous, almost scary power. And it's mysterious and unknowable, but we're also fascinated with it, that there is a curiosity about it. So the numinousness of death itself, or the numinousness of something that is just out of reach or unknown, the numinousness even of the other who we're now marrying, or the numinousness of nature's workings. We're walking through an inevitable moment in this poem. But as a poet, I see it as a metaphor for poetry too, because it's about great formality, incredible formality, like the reference to the wedding, and surprise, the sudden red bird that, like a pinprick, changes everything at the end. In poetry, we call that the volta, the little shift, the turn at the end of the poem that makes it a poem and not just a nice piece of writing or a good description or a vignette. What makes it a work of art is this sudden, unexpected turn that arises out of the expected: formality, repetition, the constant. Ted Kooser was from Nebraska. Many of you know his poetry because he became quite famous in the early years of the 21st century and the teens. He was the Poet Laureate in 2004, and he won the Pulitzer Prize in 2005 for a book I love called Delights in Shadows, which is really, I mean, it was a book that inspired me so much. I ended up imitating a lot of those poems for the rest of my career. They're poems about objects and portraits. But he was also a poet like Wallace Stevens of the working world. He worked for an insurance company, Bankers Life of Nebraska, for most of his career. His poems are a little surrealistic now and then, like a small person walking through a giant wedding dress. But they're actually plain poems about the plains, and they're very much in line with the poetic sensibility of William Stafford. He was seen to be a leader of the new formalist movement in the early 1990s. But it's more than just formalism for the sake of formalism. It's more than just creating pretty objects that tick nicely. Formality in his poems, and what I love about him, is just a vehicle for the small surprise, for the escape from formality or the escape from the known. I included a little painting here for you all to check out. This is an interior. It's called Interior with a Windsor Chair by the Danish painter Hammershøi. And Hammershøi was doing similar things that Ted Kooser does. He gives us the ordinary, and then within the ordinary, there's not even a person in this painting. And it's hard to see. It's a little foggy. There's a hoarfrost of its own that's cast over everything here. But there's a little blowing of the curtain. If you can see it, there's just a little bit of a blowing of the curtain and the light shining through, as if the light itself is blowing the curtain slightly, and then the light is cast down on the floor here in the center of the painting. And it's like you're having this moment. You might pass by that corridor and that empty chair and that window with its blowing curtain every day. But today, when you pass through, it's like something monumental and noticeable has happened. So like Hammershøi, he's interested in formality only as a way of showing us the blasted open moment where everything changes, the small disturbance in the field that wakes us up. So we're walking through this hoarfrost like in a wedding dress. And what is it like to walk in a wedding dress? There's a feeling of anticipation and excitement, the sense that your life is about to change. If you're walking in the wedding dress, you're about to marry. I love this red bird. it's a consummation, and it's a union with the stillness and the action of our lives, the yin and the yang. It's like Rilke saying, "You must change your life." Here's a poem one more time. Hoarfrost. 2 days of icy prairie fog, and every blade of grass and twig and branch and every stretch of wire, barb, post, and staple is a knot or a thread in a lace of the purest white. To walk is like finding your way through a wedding dress, the sky inside it cold and satiny. No past, no future, just the now, all breathless. Then a red bird, like a pinprick, changes everything. So let's get back into it. Feet flat, chin slightly pointed upward. Maintaining that connection between the mind and the heart. And just deepening the breath. Four counts in and 5 counts out. A little pause at the top. How do we plant the seeds of happiness? To make this moment a wedding. Spend today performing actions as if a part of a grand ceremony. And to pay attention to the volta that rises out of formality. You find your thoughts flying, then you're doing the work. You're just standing back and noticing. In this way, your thoughts can be like the intricate pattern on the dress. some ornate thing that's a part of the design. And you can just look at them and say, wow, how interesting. Thich Nhat Hanh again. The capacity to feel at peace anywhere is a positive seed. The capacity to feel at peace anywhere is a positive seed. The energy to run away is not. If we practice mindfulness, whenever the energy to run away arises, we can smile at it and say, hello, old friend, I recognize you. How can you enact that formality? Make it a dance, make it a ceremony, even in the ordinary things. Hoarfrost. 2 days of icy prairie fog, and every blade of grass and twig and branch and every stretch of wire, barb, post, and staple is a knot or a thread in a lace of the purest white. To walk is like finding your way through a wedding dress, the sky inside it cold and satiny. No past, no future, just the now, all breathless. Then a red bird, like a pinprick, changes everything.